Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to your Mercury in Leo transit talk. This is the Peace Dealer. And I hope you're excited for this transit talk because we are, of course, going to be discussing the super magic glow up that, as you can see on the 28th of July, King Kunk's Mercury and Neptune will account for this super golden quality of taking everything that Mercury has activated and socially integrate. In other words, what you've spent this 2023 cycle programming into your brain, Mercury and Leo is now you on stage expressing it. It's going to go in its exaltation in Virgo, and based off of everything you express, you're going to master it and complete integration. What does that look like? Mastered techniques, mastery of the brain processing necessary to express these techniques. Mercury's transit through here is the perfection through practice of repetition of these skills and abilities you've recently just evolved and activated, strengthening through Leo and challenging the level of courage in Leo to express what comes from the heart, to strengthen more the expression of newly activated superpowers. And hence why we call this the super magic glow up. The planet, which I will actually show you right now, the planet for the magician in tarot is Mercury. If you think of the magician as a point of manifestation, but more so accurately, this whole notion of using the perceptual quality of your brain processing mind in order to imagine what is above and analyze how to bring it down below. The ruler of Gemini and Virgo, inducing experimentation and analysis that, based on these two signs, make up your reality. The perpetual mystery of, is something real because you perceive it? And Mercury's aspect of perception raises the age-old philosophical question of, is your brain in a vat? Because based off of the perceptual analysis that enables us to input and output this function, this is what helps us create magic through what we say, hence spelling. And relative to Mercury's evolution here, I want to also show you that this is post square of Jupiter and Uranus. So a major theme of, oh, thank you. I do have two parentheses. Much appreciated. A major theme of the whole notion relative to where we're gearing and literally heating things up here in this Leo season have everything to do with the whole nature and notion of you literally integrating the post 90-degree angle of this development of not only how much boldly or more bold you communicate, but with the trine to the North Node in Aries that we have here, this is effectively going to direct the boldness and quality of your voice towards more authentic individualization of your individuality, which will so purposefully move you towards the direction you're meant to move in. Okay. I feel like this Mercury in Leo is going to add so much spice and confidence to the way you communicate that by the time we start to analyze more details into the how and flesh that, Leo is going to really strengthen the courage that will lead you there. Be prepared to take risks. And of course, as the peace dealer does best, we are going to go into the phase of what has actually led to this transit. Of course, as you can see right now, especially with Venus that's going to be retrograde, this is going to be the apex of this super magic glow up. As we can see right now, Mercury has just entered Leo. It entered the transit July 11th, and it's going to be transiting to the 28th. So this 2-week-esque transit in a few short weeks is super exciting because you are going to experience this super magical glow up. Let's look at the quality of Mercury. As we can see, Mercury is now leading Cancer and the Sun. This is very important because Mercury in Cancer brought the conjunction between the Sun and Mercury. And so that activation post retrograde out of the shadow period is inducing not only an epiphany, but in Cancer, the activation of psychic power that opposite Pluto is reawakening your body's ability to physiologically process it. Oh, we going in. I'm not playing. We a decade into the game. We know what we talking about here. Okay. And mind you, let me remind you, because this is super spicy Mercury and Leo. PSA, public service announcement. Stop letting, I don't care how educated, I don't care what degrees these people have, I don't care what experience these people have. Stop letting these useless, willfully ignorant beings who do not know their moon sign tell you anything. I stand on this. Doesn't matter how much wisdom someone has to where they align with your astrological knowledge. If that motherfucker does not know when their next Saturn return is, there is not anything that they have to tell you. I'm not taking any advice from someone who does not know when their next Saturn return is. B, you don't know your fucking moon sign? What can you tell me about me? You don't even know who the core of you is. You don't even know the degree of your moon sign. You don't even know the degree your Saturn is going to complete. And you can, and people can call that jargon and being too nerdy. It's not too nerdy. It is literacy. We are entering a period of time where literacy is judged not by the old traditional models that put you in a box of race and nationality. Run your fucking chart. Give me the birth time. And if you're gonna keep it private, you better at least know what the fuck your moon is. Don't be giving me unsolicited advice. You don't even know when you had your Saturn return. The audacity. And the only thing that's even worse than that is giving your power away to these stupid motherfuckers who feel like it's not even important to know, but then we'll look at you weird if you don't know how to read and write, as if that's the true form of. We're not playing. We're not playing. We're not playing. Okay, this is the spice that we are bringing in. This is that flavor of communication. So you have just spent time evolving. We're going to go back in time to see Mercury's transit through Aries to Cancer. Now taking this evolved sense of yourself, you're going into the first social sign of Leo, and you're expressing this. You're putting spice on this. Excuse me, do you know your moon sign? Get the fuck out of my face. That's Mercury Leo. Not because of what I said, but how I said it. I said it with my chest. Kevin Hart, Progress Leo. Say it with your chest. You feel me? Or probably Progress Virgo. But like it's now spicing up the drama that comes from projecting your Aries authenticity and expressing it with courage. We're going to go in. This is one of those iconic Mercury transits that you're going to sense a shift in dynamics as we now go to Scorpio, which is going to complete the Mercury evolution and innovation. Boom. So I think the first thing that I want to do here, first of all, in kind of overcoming the conjunction, this activation of psychic power initiated at a deeper depth relative to Pluto's transit that since 2008 was in the beginning, has put you in this position to awaken new superpowers. This is the best way I can say it. Now, before Mercury retrogrades in Libra back into Virgo, as the Mercury is moving ahead of the sun, we are actively manifesting from our conscious awareness, brain, mental processing information. This is important because the retrograde cycle that we have when Mercury moves behind the moon, our consciousness is transcending what our brain is picking up because we're reevaluating the information. So we are releasing what we used to think in light consciousness, sun of new awareness. Once Mercury now catches up with the sun, and then we now update up to speed this alignment of everything we're aware of and everything we think, Mercury now speeds up ahead to collect information in advance from what we're aware of. And so while we're still aware of our sincere emotions, Mercury is already talking shit. Yeah, you heard me. And it's opposite Pluto too. Mercury did not come to play games because it's in Leo. And like Leo has gotten such a bad rap over the past couple of years with the Saturn opposition. You know what I'm saying? Like Leo is not playing games with nobody. They weren't, but like they're really not. Especially with Pluto that's ready to go into Aquarius. And so you're going to be feeling very spicy, more than normal. You're going to have that proclivity to really speak your mind, but with sauce. And the sauce is going to be there in Scorpio, but this is the pre-sauce era, the spicy era. Okay, Mercury did not even wait. We want to get the fuck out of Cancer quick, and it's going to trailblaze through Leo. So this phase of Mercury is still within the 30-degree sun period. So this is going to manifest this activation of psychic power relative to the force you can express with your mind and strengthen the courage of how you express this, Leo, on stage with your chest. Roar. Boom. Let us remember Mercury is this representation of the magician, is focusing on manifestation through your word, and also the processing of your brain to facilitate recent evolution. Before I go in depth into this transit, if you click the description box below, you will see that I am still currently offering not only the snapshot transit report, but the live readings. If you would like a live reading about this transit from the 11th to the 28th, click the description box below. You can join the queue, and please email me your natal chart or your sun, moon, or rising, and I will break that down for you. If you would like now an in-depth look at this transit up until the 28th, I am offering a snapshot Mercury and Leo transit report. I don't have discount codes until the 22nd because if you actually look at the cart, the discount will automatically apply. So I do have 15 exclusive spots available. I'm only going to do 15, and they will all be $50 after the discount. I still also have about 12 Venus and Leo transit reports left. You don't need a code for that. The next 12 of you who order it will get the 50% off discount as well. Okay, I highly recommend this because you know your boy is going to go in. I got 11 more for the Venus. I really recommend the Venus in Leo as well, especially if you get the Venus and Mercury in Leo together. Then I can intertwine how both of them in one report will really play off each other, because this is where things get fun. Once Mercury goes into Virgo and Venus starts retrograding, the main act of the play has finished, and now we're developing more plot on the side. Virgo's going to work, Venus is going through her character arc. So this Mercury and Leo chapter is going to be the initial fun part after Mars and Venus kind of set the way. Thank you, Morgan Alexander, for the red carpet. Okay, so I highly recommend that. Feel free to order that. Once again, 15 spots for the Mercury and Leo, 11 spots for Venus and Leo. The automatic discount automatically applies, and you will get in-depth interpretation specific to your natal chart. And so far, all the snapshot transit reports I've done have been home runs. Like, so I really appreciate those of you who have invested in that. Other than that, let's actually get into the transit. Okay, so with that being said, I want to go back in time. Let's actually go back. Let's actually go back 6 months when Mercury was in Capricorn, because I want to really break down why in a few short days, in less than 2 weeks, the capability of your brain to integrate supernatural abilities in a hyper practical way that functions like an application is not new, but the quality and strength of how you experience it is going to exponentially skyrocket. Okay. Jujutsu Kaisen's description of cursed energy functions as a model of how to think of magic and how to think of life energy manipulation. The life energy that runs through you is like electricity. You have chi running through you right now. You have untapped elements of your own qigong or Tantian energy that's just untapped, kind of like electricity. Wielding energy is like wielding electricity, but without a device, without a programmed device that enables you to harness that electricity, it's generally useless. There's not really much that you can do with it unless you have a circuit grid with resistors that can take the current and produce voltage from it. And that's what Mercury represents, where you have the life force energy that comes from your sun awareness, and relative to the sign you're in is the quality it's in. But Mercury is the brain processing function with the resistors of your chakras that enables you to harness the current of your energy and convert it and direct it. Okay. The snapshot report is a 15-minute report where I'll go in depth into Mercury and Leo in your chart. Highly recommended. Okay. On top of that, once again, when it comes to the whole notion of engineering devices, this is in the form of techniques. So you have the energy where you could just, through unconscious reactions or willfully, project the energy. But then you have techniques that induce abilities to harness your energy through the device of your technique to produce an effect. Much of this understanding has been shrouded in mystery, fantasy, and science fiction. Now, relative to the last 3 years since 2020, which I will show, you are now breaking through relative to 24 years of 2 Jupiter cycles of, through you being the experimenter and revolutionary element, bringing through your own experience the most practical expression of these techniques that you perfect, like riding a dirt bike. And as you can see, 2023, let's actually go back 3 years, because I don't want you to listen to this like this is speculation. I am breaking down the facts. Science is afraid to admit this because most scientists don't even know their fucking moon sign or Saturn return. So they have no authority to really talk about this. So let's talk about 2020. Like, I could just go through the Mercury and Leo transit. I could just break down the transits and be like, this is what's going to happen here. But I would be doing you a disservice. I would be doing you a great disservice. I think it's very important for you to understand how the last 3 years effectively activated, in a collective sense, the collective awakening for you to begin the process of downloading these powers that, relative to collective events, awakened everyone individually, and the way everyone responded individually, unique to them, developed their character. Coming into 2023 out of 2022, that 3-year collective download, you are now uploading individually. And this is you individually activating and initializing the applications, which are your magical abilities. Okay? So let's actually go through that, because I want to really explain how the mechanics of the last 3 years especially are leading into the next 2 weeks, why you're going to be performing supernatural abilities that you never knew possible. This is it. Okay. 2020, 2021, and 2022 was the prelude to the apocalypse. It was the beta test. It was the beginning of that 7-year tribulation cycle, or depending on how some other people might see it, the final parts. Regardless of how you see it, those 3 years were a collective direction through collective forces, most corrupt, that had their hand in directing what everyone else does. 2023, 2024, and 2025 are now the individuals moving forward their direction in preparation for 2025 of the new world order that's going to literally set us on a 30-year karmic cycle to move forward us as a whole. And so the reason why this is important is 2024 is going to strengthen what we activated 2023, which is 2023, where North Node Aries moving in this new direction. The new direction we're moving in is literally superpowers. I want to break down why this is superpowers. Is it the first time we're awakening superpowers? No, go to your birth. That was the very first time you awakened superpowers in a human body, and it led you on a 30-year decompression process called the Saturn return, which of course took past life lessons, current life lessons, and the Dharma you're creating to decompress the power you came into this lifetime with and set you up at 28, another 30-year cycle to now fulfill the karma now that your power has returned after 28 years natural cycle. We're going in. We are going in. We are going in. Shout out to Miss Kiki. Okay. So reflecting this in mind, okay, 2020 is so iconic because we see Saturn and Pluto and the king of the gods, Jupiter, and Mars subsequently kick in this 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Mars with war, Pluto with pestilence, Saturn with death, and Jupiter with famine, because Jupiter is exalted in Cancer of abundance and plenty, but in its fall in Capricorn will be famine. You can prove this, by the way, because when I went to a financial workshop and I realized the S&P index over the decades, this is what people who aren't astrologers don't know how to apply this to economy, which I proved is literally replicable. Every year Jupiter entered Sagittarius, the market reached a peak. Then when Jupiter went in its fall in Capricorn, you see a big crash. This happened in 2008, and 12 years later, it happened 2020. And we know what happened both those years. This is science. This is a science. Thank you very much. So with that being said, this culmination and legendary alignment of planets that if you think of the probability for all 4 of these to be together in the same sign is slim to none. It'll never happen again in Capricorn. This is once in a lifetime shit. This represents, relative to the 1700s, the development of consciousness that has reached the collective pinnacle with Mercury. This Mercury conjunction, which Venus went through and then Mars went through, our heart, our groin, and our brain, or our desire and our brain. This was the mental brain awakening activation of supernatural power. Okay. For the first time, no, go back to your birth. But at an updated level to where now everyone in the collective is ready to move forward. What that meant for you was influencing the collective direction of your integrity and reputation. But this planted the seeds for, at a higher self level, the physical understanding and mental processing of what you're beginning to activate. Okay. And that was important because Jupiter was in Capricorn. Now let's go a year ahead. This is when now Saturn and Jupiter were in Aquarius. The power you activated now was like a car that came out the shop. In Aquarius, you now had to manifest the electronics of the car. This is where you started to program your brain with the knowledge of the power you just activated in a collective higher sense self, the God level of you. All right. And the major reason why this is supernatural is because of Neptune's progression into Pisces, and Uranus's progression into Taurus is what grounds this extra dimensional energy down physically through our physical senses. That's why I'm saying this isn't the first time you've awakened this. Every year you've had a solar return is a greater awakening of power, but your ability to process this physiologically was non-existent, because Uranus was not in the individual signs for you to actually process through your 5 senses. This is what made it more ideological in the 2010s and 2000s when it was in Pisces. conceptual. Then 2010 to 2018 in Aries was the raw physical identification of your super self, where it's manifesting in Taurus now through super senses. Uranus in Aries was the activation and awakening of your super self. Uranus in Taurus is the manifestation of your super senses. And so relative to 2018, now from 2020-21 at 6 degrees to 2023 at 22 degrees, the quality with which you can manifest these super senses are preparing you for Uranus and Gemini, where you perform super magic abilities. This is where you're going to process your mind at rapid speeds to facilitate quicker manifestation in 1 second than you've ever done your whole life. And that's the purpose for the Taurus transit, to strengthen your body's ability to process this higher level magic. Process. Okay, perfect. So that's very important, because 2022 was the apex of this that ended the cycle here with Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces. This was the transcendence of the previous cycles relative to the 90s and then also the 1800s with Neptune, that marked the end of the old cycle and the preparation for the beginning of the end of the world with Saturn and Pisces. But what we want to look at is Mercury on Pluto. These successive conjunctions with Mercury on Pluto was a deeper awakening of your brain relative to these different stages. So Mercury in 2020 awakened the brain's power. Mercury in 2021 awakened the brain's power in applying the knowledge of it. And then Mercury in 2022 awakened the brain's power in the expression of its mindset ability in Pisces, its belief of what's possible for you to do. That was the major part of 2022. After 2021 downloaded the knowledge of what you are now capable of, 2022 transcended the old belief of who you are, because now you are evolving into a new being. Q 2023. This is what brings us to Jupiter's new cycle in Aries, and why 2023 is such an important chapter in your development, which signals moving in a new direction with new abilities. Everything over the past 3 years that we downloaded in a higher realm, we're now individuating. And that now leads to 2023, 4, and 5. This 3-year process is wrapping up this tribulation cycle to end the world. By 2025, Jupiter will be in Cancer, Saturn will be in Aries. And that's where the new age begins. Like, not really, but like, it's a really good way to see that. Trust me. Amy Kennedy, thank you very much for ordering the Progress chart reading. I most definitely got you. Okay. Personally, relative to this, once again, and how convenient with the nodal return. What's very important about this is 2023 marked Pluto moving into Aquarius. So the whole Pluto Capricorn process was just preparing your body to harness cosmic energy in a supernatural sense. Otherwise, the pure nature of the energy would drive you insane, and you would probably drive to commit suicide or just die due to overexposure of energy. But Pluto awakened since 2008. That's how long the process is, because it's superpowers are awakening, God level power. This is now, if you want to look at 2020 to 2022, it awakened the collective source that you can draw from and engineered that connection to you. Now, 2023, 2024, 2025 is you creating your own device so that you can connect to that source, and based on how you create it, draw from it to do whatever you do in the way you do it. And that's why I want to make sure we're clear. Pluto going into Aquarius stepped us into the awakening of humanity transit over the next decade and a half, which I'm just not going to sugarcoat it, is going to fully awaken your ability to not only harness energy in a supernatural sense, but know what the fuck you're doing. Know the quality of the energy you're channeling, whereas before it was just generally unconscious to you, muddled within all the pseudo misinformation about energy and magic through fantasy and science fiction. None of that shit's found to work, because once Neptune leaves Pisces, all the mystery, the veil, the unconscious veil that these outside forces have perpetuated, okay, in order to mystify magic, will be demystified. I'm calling it right now. Pluto in Aqua and Neptune and Saturn in Aries is the new frontier of finally reinstituting magic as science. You will see magic sciences be taken a lot more seriously because Saturn finishing through Pisces is going to expand upon the materialization of quantum mechanic concepts. If you take into account the Nobel Peace Prize recently won that proves this universe is not locally real, this is going to bring back ancient concepts, but with now a more updated scientific understanding that will make sense of experiences that we've just chalked up to superstition, but was realer than the fake science we've been having to regurgitate the whole time. It's literally like another layer of knowledge is unlocking for us to explore through the new generation. Beautiful. So, with that being said, this is why this Mercury go around through Capricorn relative to this year was so iconic, because this is right before Pluto went to Aquarius. And this is now the directional awakening of your brain as it applies to individually activating this. So, the past 3 years was working on your car. 2020 worked on the car. 2021 put the engineering on the car. 2022 filled the engineering with apps. Okay, we went from hardware to software. So 2023 is really the first year you actually get to ride the car. 2024 is when, now that you know who you are riding this car, the car is a representation of your superpowers. Now you're going to stack the car. Do I want to put padding on my car? You're raising the value of your car. Taurus, Jupiter, Taurus. You're putting rims on that bitch. Okay. And then Jupiter, Gemini 2025. Well, 2024 is Jupiter, Gemini, but 2025 is going to be where, after you finish activating this driving the car, you're deepening your understanding of how to integrate the driving of your car with your lifestyle. And that's what makes you respect the timing of this process, where, you know, awakening superpowers isn't something that you just do overnight. It's a lifelong process. And this isn't about awakening superpowers. This is about connecting with higher aspects of yourself so that we can step into a society that freely has access to higher realms in our ability to make sense of it down here, without that concept being mystified as some esoteric concept when it's as basic as geometry. Okay. So that is the whole process of course, activating superpowers. Everything we're activating now is really for the higher element of this. So it's easy to get caught up in the abilities and what you can do, but this is really just to facilitate how well you're going to accomplish your destiny. And the real urgent purpose of activating these superpowers is to prepare you for war through this North Node Aries transit. You're going to have to defend yourself from this next level of illusion. And it's these abilities that are going to help you maintain your authenticity. What is the nature of this world? What is the nature of this war? The nature of this war, the next phase of this war we're stepping into, is the attack on your individuality, the attack on your consciousness, by creating false narratives and labels to, through a transhumanistic agenda, have you forcibly identify as something you're not, whether through forced implanting chips or having to outlaw certain elements of who your authentic being. So just by being you, not by picking up a gun, not by protesting, just by doing you, you're fighting the war. Just by going against social expectations in your alignment to do what is authentic to you, that's how you fight the war. And you are activating superpowers to draw boundaries and protect your right in the face of forces who will cross that line to force you how to be you over their dead bodies. That ain't gonna fucking happen. Okay. That's going to separate those who are absolute cowards and will conform because they don't want to smoke, and those of you who are absolute revolutionaries who stand your ground and lead by example. This is just facts. You'll know who the cowards are because they conformed and complied 2020 to 2022. They lied to themselves in the face of just blatant corruption and propaganda and did stuff that they didn't really need to do. You'll know who's going to be the revolutionary because you did not conform and comply the past 3 years. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Like, we already know who's who, you know what I'm saying? And that's not to be like this person versus that person. The focus is individual. It's not about comparing ourselves with others. It's about taking what you've learned and moving the fuck forward, because you can't look back on the plow. All right, you must keep your nose to the grindstone and move forward. That being said, we have seen that this conjunction is what awakened the activation of this cycle. So if we now move forward, we had the conjunction with Pluto, okay? We had the conjunction with Saturn at the end of Aquarius. We had the conjunction with Neptune in Pisces. And then we had the conjunction with Mercury on Jupiter with Aries. Then we had the conjunction of Uranus with Taurus. Okay. Then it went into Gemini and Cancer, which is important because the Taurus conjunction through the retrograde was what broke through the square and conjunction of Aquarius. This is where the knowledge you activated started to actually ground through what you can physically sense. And post retrograde, once it went into Gemini, the conjunction that was made with Neptune started to break through relative to the quality. Wow, that was fast. Relative to the quality of course, how quickly you could intellectualize the dream that Neptune inspired. Then in Cancer, this was the square to the conjunction with Chiron and Jupiter. And the reason why I have to say that is this Leo transit is important for a few reasons. One, this is the completion of the conjunction we had with Pluto. It is also the breakthrough of the conjunction that Mercury had with Uranus. Why is that very important? The awakening of your brain that relative to the past 3 years, and then even since 2008. So this is, I'm only talking about since 2020. This has been happening at multiple levels, even since Pluto Sag. But relative to this power pack initiation, this activation with Pluto that's already moved into Aquarius is complete. So when I'm saying that you are activating awakened powers, this is all mathematically based. We have had the 180-degree angle from Mercury and Pluto. So we are just like Mars and Venus already finished that awakening. Our brain is the last to process this. The sequence of these planets are just genius. That's how I know they're alive. Like this is a creator who programmed all of this, period. This is excellent, creme de la creme coding. So basically, what that means is over the Leo transit, you are going to be strengthening the completion of this opposition. Why does that matter? The completion of this opposition at the end of Pluto's transit in Capricorn is the final awakening over this year and next year that is going to facilitate the completion of what the expression of these superpowers look like. And that's what makes Mercury and Leo fun, because it's going to feel like, wow, I've legitimately activated the next level of my potential utilizing superpowers. And it feels like it's the first time. You're going to feel like stuff you've done your whole life is being done for the first time because of the greater quality. That's the Pluto awakening. Now let's go into the Uranian innovation and sudden awakening of energy. The conjunction in Taurus and Aries was a very pivotal, iconic activation of how you identify and communicate who you are. It was a powerful activation of raw physical power and physically how much more your brain can handle processing. So that means up until just now, the Mercury and Leo transit is going to take the seeds that were sowed and sprout them through the ground. in preparation for Mercury and Scorpio. The reason why this is beautiful is the reflective resistance of psychic attack up into this point has reached a full 180, to where before, especially pre-2020, you were so much more vulnerable and susceptible to psychic attack, versus now your ability to address it and now fill in your own individuality in bringing it a voice is having you spank the ass of these insecure, weak little bitches who feel like they have anything to tell or do to you, and they don't even know their moon sign, and they don't even know their Saturn return. Like this is going to be a reign of terror for them, because everything that they built on the false foundation of their own illusions is crumbling. That's what Saturn and Pisces means. For those of you who built your foundation on something solid that wasn't sand, and the very fickle nature of the collective conscious opinion and narrative towards things that is so superficial and only trends superficial shit, leaving a silent majority of people who don't feel they have a voice because the important things they talk about are never aired. Well, all that shit is crumbling. And you're going to realize the authenticity that has always been around, but was not blocked by all this fake shit. And that's what's going to add a literal fire through this. You are going to see the evolution of your brain processing that Uranus induced a literal supernatural edge to at the final degrees, because Mercury has gone over Uranus for several years, but this was the first year it did it in the third decan. This is increasing the strengthened quality of how you can actually process this supernatural energy through your five senses. And so now the strengthening of your heart and the courage to actually have fun with this is breaking through the ground. Everything that I'm describing right now over the next 3 months is the full expression of your superpowers, because by the time we go into Libra, you've mastered it. Libra and beyond in the 2023 year is on the South Nodal eclipse. So this is the full application of recently mastered abilities that are going to connect you with other people who've mastered their craft or not. And this is going to decide very heavily who you're going to move forward with. North Node in Aries is leading a social group. All right. People following your lead and authenticity. It's the challenge of leadership through authenticity. Okay. So I wanted to make sure that that was very clear. The whole notion of you being in this position to embrace wholeheartedly that not only is this super magic glow up going to enhance the creativity of how masterfully you express supernatural abilities, and I do mean plural. I do mean plural. Okay, shout out to Monica. But we also have to take into account the whole notion of how this transit is going to now apply the style of how you express the supernatural magic happening in your brain through the imagination, the true reality, outside of this veil of Maya, which is just a condensed physical illusion that is very, very persistent, as much as illusions and dreams can be. This bitch is probably programmed. Anyway, that being said, if you have activated, that's why I wanted to show you Mercury from Aries through Cancer. You have finished activating relative to these new cycles, the individual way you would use these powers. So there's what and there's how. This is how Gemini and Virgo cover pretty much all ground. Gemini is what to do and say. Virgo is how to do and say it. You finished activating what your powers are. Now we're getting ready to integrate how to use them. So I will go through different transits around, oh, you're learning how to use your powers. You're learning how to use your powers. But those are just more so layers relative to the stage we're in. Everything up until this point was understanding how to use your abilities relative to what they are. Now we're going to start to learn how to use the abilities relative to mastering how they function. And so this is where Leo, fifth house fun, it gets fun. This is where it gets fun. The first part of activation and initialization is very frustrating because you still haven't seen the seed grow through the ground. So you don't know if it's still going to grow. You don't know what to expect. You're still having to break through old programming. Now this is where you've reached the initial balance to pedal the bike, where when you initially pedal a bike, you have to get the balance. Then once you have the balance, you can start to get the speed. We are at the moment where we started to get the balance, and now we can move forward and then break through, unless you see that as the opposition, which would make a lot more sense. So with that being said, we have the rest of the year to harness and master and break through. Yes. But the reason why I'm very excited is you guys are the prototype of abilities and perspectives that are not written in textbooks. Like, you're not going to see through traditional means, which are also very influenced by politics and what information people want out relative to the country you're in. You are your own bank now. You are your own resource. And we are now engaging with what other sources people have to build more of this new supernatural form of peer-reviewed research that forgoes old, outdated methods. But the Neptune in Pisces is the unconscious delusion of not realizing that what we look as advanced is severely outdated. Most of these people that will tell you they're advanced don't know their moon sign. They don't know when their next Saturn return is. And that alone tells you a lot of how much little they know. But when you're blinded with worldly wisdom and you feel that all the stuff we're doing works, then efficiency is actually now a devil, because you can't fix what's not broken. But if what's working for you is an outdated system, it needs to be innovated. And that's what brings this to Uranus. Okay. This is so very important. Yes, we need to write the books. Thank you, Valerie. We need to make the videos. We need to share our perspective. It's less about being right or wrong and more about just expressing your perspective. Once Saturn and Jupiter make its way to Cancer post 2030, like Cancer is going to make it to Virgo like 2026. Once we reach like 2025 post 2030, that's when it's going to matter more about the precision and accuracy of what we're saying. We're going to take everything we've activated from now till then, and then we're going to analyze it. Wow, we thought this, that was retarded. Oh, wow, we were really on point with it. We're not there yet. Where we're at is to just be like a baby and to express, make the most mistakes possible, really work out the kinks, because this North Node Aries is a Page of Wands experience where you're feeling like you're starting over all over again. And you are stepping into a new version of yourself that is taking into account every lesson you've learned in every past lifetime and in early childhood, so that you can be the revolution and express yourself in an unconventional way that's never been expressed before. Okay. Welcome to the club, Angels of Enlightenment. All right. Obviously, you're a threat to those that don't want, I'm not going to say freedom of speech, but the truth expressed. It is what it is. And that's part of the struggle to really maintain authenticity. North Node, as you can see, is now in Aries. If I actually update the timing, it is currently in Aries now. Okay. So with that being said, we have to usher in social engineering. We have replaced basically 2010, but let me actually be real. The 1960s, like the late 1950s up until I want to say 2020, was the whole process of the outer planets going from social back to the end of the collectives. That was, of course, the completion of the old society. What we're in the process of now is a revolution of the individual, where individuals all over the world are pioneering their own being. And that's going to congregate 17 years later from now into a new society. By the time we're in 2030 and really 2033, and Saturn is in Leo and starts transiting that is the formulation of a new society relative to individuals who awaken superpowers. And so we're creating a superpowered society. This is where regulation on superpowers will start to come in. But we're still activating so much powers, it's too soon to regulate it, although that won't stop the government from trying. Because we're coming out, Neptune out of Pisces is coming out of the period of authorities and governing authorities' ability to lie to you, to basically lie to you about what they are. Now, in light of this surge of knowledge and information, it is increasingly difficult to lie to humanity about their superpowers. And, classified CIA documents and other such revelations later are going to explode through Pluto and Aquarius. The exponential quality of how science, medicine, and every field of study is going to be completely innovated and going back to the drawing board to integrate supernatural principles that even the smallest minute changes the way you see everything. Most of you watching me right now didn't have to wait for the mainstream to reveal this in order for you to know this. And that's what makes you chosen. This is what makes you a leader of the new school. It's not based on a special quality of being better than others. You just made the choice to not be fucking stupid and then to believe in yourself. It's literally that simple. So let's actually go and listen. Let me just break down the sad reality of this to you, or maybe it's not sad. The magic police is a real thing. All right. And some of you are being harassed by the magic police and you don't even know. Okay. Non-private sector of any government is a part of a government that is not official. So you can't look it up. The government will let you know every single department that they have. But what about organizations that are not officially listed? What about organizations where money is sent to an undisclosed location that operates attached or conjacent or part or connected vaguely with the government? All right. So you can't look it up, right? But it still exists. It's like a ghost society. This is the whole element of the 12th house next to the 11th house of community, right? So really keep that in mind, because the whole notion of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, the intense experimentation of society at the time, and this is when they proved telepathy and psychic abilities were real. Think about that. They have run experiments that proved realness of this. So why didn't they ever publish this? Why did the government feel in its wisdom, perhaps, that maybe humanity wasn't ready to know this? Mostly because they wanted to, make money off of you and use you as a literal energy battery. But if you are not aware, right? See, if you're not aware of the whole notion that there are privately employed government agents that can police psychic abilities, or that can use psychic abilities for their covert operations, then imagine if it's so hard to bring accountability to an actual police officer, then think of a magic police force, men who stare goes, think of a magic police force that is not sanctioned or regulated and can basically get away with being corrupt towards you and do all that. Am I saying that's exactly what's happening? It's probably more in depth than that. I'm just giving you a concept. All right. I'm saying don't necessarily excuse that to just be science fiction because you don't see any proof of it. The concept that you're disillusioning yourself from now is that a magician shows you what they want to see so that what they're doing behind closed doors, you won't see. Just because certain people tell you that this is what's real and factual doesn't mean that they're not hiding very controversial shit. And if you put yourself in their shoes, if they know that releasing this information will cause instability socially, if it's going to get in the way of their GDP, why would they release it? They're going to keep it classified. That doesn't prove that they're doing that. It's just letting you know it's more than possible. You are going to uncover those secrets, not someone on YouTube, not some scientist from Yale, you. And that's the war. In this proliferated information age where little to anything is true, but it all sounds like it because of this rhetoric, this rhetorical storm of bullshit, the authenticity you align with who you are will reveal the truth. Even if you don't have the data and details, it's the experience that in alignment and surrendering your ego to hear things you don't like will direct you the right way. Okay. So the first phase of this transit is the quincunx with Mercury and Saturn. This coming up into the 15th is what's going to start to build traction to the transit. All right. Mercury is sixth house from Saturn. Leo is sixth house from Pisces. So this is an integrative aspect that's going to induce the creativity of your brain processing with how well it can perfect the expression of what you imagine in your brain. How creatively can you express what you're imagining? And relative to the conjunction that we had at the end of Aquarius, the opposition of Mercury and Virgo to Saturn and Pisces is going to complete this through a crystallized initial perfection of new magical techniques that bring everything you're imagining for you to practically express here in 3D. We're going to go through 2 more years of this. The second stage opposition in 2024, and then the third stage opposition that will finalize this process in 2025. Let's go. I'm nice with it. I give you receipts. This is all math, y'all. So that means the Mercury and Leo transits for 2023, 4, and 5 are integrative in the sense that each year we perfect more our quality and ability to take this mastery of our imagination. Mind you, once again, the opposition in Virgo is going to practically flesh this out. So the transit through Leo is creating the energy that we will materialize in Virgo. The energy being created through your heart, through your passion. How passionate, sixth house Leo, are you expressing your imagination? Neptune, Saturn, Pisces. And so that's a major quality of this. By the time we have that perfect opening King Kunk's angle, your brain is going to begin to automatically align with the integrity of your beliefs. What that means is from the 11th to the 15th, you're going to simulate the strengthening and activation of how courageous your mind is. But once we get to the 15th, the alignment with how you'll directly connect and be in flow with what you're imagining is going to create more perfection and integrating more hits. This is where you're allowed to, you don't want to get too caught up if, what's the best analogy of this? Basically a lighter, like click, 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 King Kunks. That's the way you can kind of see it. All right. This is just meant to adjust and integrate. All right. The next thing that we want to also see here, which I think is one of the more important parts, is the subsequent square with Mercury and Jupiter. This is a major, 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 major important range. Okay. One, the 11 to 22 degree transit of Mercury in between Jupiter and Uranus is going to facilitate the whole notion of the seeds growing through the ground. Let me tell you why you want to get excited. I've asked you this question before, so I'm going to ask it again. How many of you have been experiencing this mind-body disconnect between what you intend for versus what happens? Comment an exclamation mark if you recognize that, like, the hit miss ratio has been inconsistent. Maybe now you've been hitting more, but it's still somewhat inconsistent. It's like you're able to perceive it, but sometimes you don't always get it right, but it's like you're going to the right track, right? For those of you who commented an exclamation mark, once we actually hit the 18th, this is a considerable initial breakthrough relative to integration of you so perfectly hitting. This is going to streamline more stability to where now you don't have to think about it because you're seeing it. The evolution of your brain's capability relative to Aries that started the cycle is going to finally feel like it. This is one of, listen, Mars has already gone through here. Venus has already gone through here. Mercury was the last one to go through here with the sun. So your brain is processing this, and then you're going to be aware of it. This inconsistency through Virgo is going to turn into just consistency, mastery, hit, 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 hit. You've adjusted the application and Fitbit into your lifestyle. So this is where you're doing the Fitbit and like you didn't really reach your goal, but sometimes you reach your goal. Now at this point, you're hitting your goal. And once we step into Virgo, you're mastering hitting your goal. It's like, no, now I'm doing this with style, lifestyle. Boom. All right, let's get even deeper with this because this crucial point is going to be your brain's ability, the lord of your perception at this base level. This is going to be that week span where you start to intellectually process, oh, I really have powers. Okay. Up until this point, remember how I was talking about the pre-rolls, how I'll spin at the dispensary to win the free pre-rolls? Can you believe? Mind you, before, all I would get were drawings. Like in order to win a prize, it would be a once in an everyday thing. Like I wouldn't just win the prize. The way it was set up is that the odds to win the prize are low. That's how it's supposed to be. Otherwise, everyone would be winning the prize, right? Fast forward to the last 2 weeks, I've done nothing. I won an extra. Let me tell you my experience of this. Right now, Mercury is in Leo. So I did the thing again, right? I won again. But not only did I win again, the bud tender told me, oh, that's crazy because if you didn't win, the person who was in line before you, they won a free eighth. They didn't want it. So I was going to give you that anyway. Like it's crazy because in order for me to even see that bud tender, the timing of how everything had to work out in a sense where they were about to ring out, but a conversation made it longer. Like the sequence of events and fate is drawing you into the metaphysical quality of how these play out. But now we're reaching the threshold to where, boom, the seeds have broken through the ground and you're going to be a lot more aware of how to now direct the integration of this process. Through Taurus and Leo, this is taking the natural strength of your body and converting it into solar energy, life force energy. This is where you start to really use your nin. This is where you start to integrate and convert the untapped energy to now express. And the next question is, we finished answering what your expression is. The next question is, how do you express it? Okay. So with that being said, this square is going to begin to integrate the evolution of your literal brain. And as this gets closer to Lilith, by the way, that square to Jupiter coincides the new moon in Cancer. So once we activate the new psychic power cycle, square the North Node and opposite Pluto, you are going to activate new psychic power and instantly know what direction to lead it to with the North Node, with the potency of the extreme awakening of Pluto to provide pressure to intensify this awakening process. Okay. So by the time the moon or Mercury makes it to now 22 degrees over Lilith, might I add you, this is what's going to facilitate the final part of this Uranus square. Okay, this is going to be the innovative integrative breakthrough, where the quality of how unconventional you process this supernatural power relative to 3 months ago when this was in Taurus, you were just planting the seeds for how unconventional you'll do it. Now, in July, this is you actually expressing it. This is you on stage taking the values you activated and you're beginning to adjust how you express it. This is going to be the experience of physically mastering this, as Mars is in Virgo. The sun that's in Leo opposite Pluto is going to intensify your awareness. And this is where the super magic glow up period begins. So everything up until the 24th, similar to Venus, is that pre-glow up period. Once the super magic glow up begins, this is going to take everything that was prepared. What was prepared? The pre-super magic glow up period. encompassed the beginning of integrating your brain's ability to process the supernatural. This is following Mars, which awakened and integrated the accelerator of your vehicle through your desire, and then Venus, your heart's ability to actually sensate the beauty and pleasure of what you like. But now Mercury is enabling you to process what actually has been happening. And then the sun is going to make you aware of it. Okay, eminent skills, I got you. So with that being said, that 0-degree sun in Leo, right, is going to be a very important awareness of everything Mercury, Venus, and Mars has set up for you on the red carpet. Now this is the official debut of the red carpet event because the main character is transiting through its dignity and sign. And that's the most important part of this process. Once we step into this glow up period, the next important part is going to be the yod that forms with Venus retrograde and Mercury. This yod is going to be a very karmic, destined completion of this super magic glow up. And this is going to align through metaphysical, unconventional forces with Neptune and Pluto. Neptune and Pisces, unconventionally metaphysical, meaning you cannot see it at all. You have to sense it, which will be the hidden hand behind how, sixth house from Neptune, you apply this imagination force to influence how much more perfectly you express the nuance of these social facets of your courage, your talents, your ability. And the Pluto quincunx is what's going to open up this transformation of how your body is awakening greater expression of this energy. And where does all of that trine, ladies and gentlemen? The North Node in Aries. And so that strengthening and loading of this energy is going to direct towards where specifically you take this courage and the authenticity of how you embody that. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Mercury in Leo. And I have mathematically broken down this super magic glow up process. This is the transit that basically what you have done. And now let's think about what Leo represents. Now that I've broken down the math, let's actually break this down. Leo, if Aquarius is the electricity and the source of electricity, Leo is the power source that you plug the plug into. It's what provides the device with electricity. And so Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and Cancer was you activating what your powers were. The Leo transit, after Cancer fueled it, is energizing the quality of this fuel. So this is going to be you coming into the energy to now add strength to the tangible basic nature of the abilities you just activated. That being said, you're going to come into experiential mastery over the next 2 years of how to do this. Because once we get into 2025, the very iconic part of 2025, post North Node in Aries, North Node is going to be in Pisces. We are now in a position to complete the finishing of your abilities. Now you're moving forward as the mastered you. This is you now taking, like, since 2020, 5 years of awakening and activation to now move forward to develop further and bring this into society. And that's going to lead us from the 2025 to 2030 chapter. Saturn going from Aries to Cancer conjunct Uranus. Once Saturn begins its transit to catch up with Uranus, this is where we're going to start to see flying cars. This is where we're going to start to see magic regulated. This is where we're going to start to see technology that enhances magic and magic that fuels technology. Basically, nothing new, because there's nothing new under the sun, but updated and innovated. Okay, so get this. By the time Mercury goes into Virgo, now that you've charged up the energy, you now have enough chakra to master and create techniques. And I don't want to do too much of this transit because I'm going to save it for that transit talk. But Mercury is going to catch up with Mars. And I want to show you how post mastery, especially opposite Neptune, Mercury begins to retrograde. So Mars is going to begin to perfect your hot suit, okay? The way you express your power. And the reason why Mercury is retrograding in Virgo after retrograding in Taurus, which reevaluated the values you think upon, Mercury retrograding in Virgo is, oh my gosh, I know how to use these new abilities. Well, if you knew how to snap your fingers and clean a room instantly, now Mercury has to reevaluate because how you clean the room and live your life is going to be different. Now, Mercury retrograding in Virgo is every vacuum cleaner that I've ever had is obsolete. Now, my vacuum cleaning business, the way that and the material that I used, I don't need that. I can snap my finger. Now I'm reevaluating how I do this work because before I can only hit 5 houses a day. Now I can hit 50. And once Mercury and Venus finish their retrograde and they move into Libra, you've now made this adjustment so that now you know more what you can handle versus the adjustment process of, well, I needed a vacuum, now I don't. That's what that is. This should fucking excite you because you are literally on the verge of changing your entire life. What brings a totality to your whole life changing is the opposition Mercury is making to Saturn and Neptune. So that's what's going to have you apply this new technique to every part of your fucking life. And we're going to do this again 2 more years with increased quality. Let's get it. Okay. It's an honor to serve, as I will always say. And I'm very grateful that I was able to break down this transit. This is where you're going to really transition into a much more powerful element of harnessing these abilities like an appliance and now integrating how you use these individual abilities in order to change and direct the new authentic direction of your life. Okay. And I am grateful for y'all as well. You guys are the best part about what I do. And yes, this is going to, true to the earth signs, enable you to apply your abilities to make more money, to make more value, to actually literally innovate your fucking life. All right. As Uranus will get ready to move into Gemini, which is going to speed up the ability for you to process and think at a much quicker level. Some of you will be able to process information at millisecond levels, which you should laugh at. That should sound fucking crazy. But that's what Uranus and Taurus is, strengthening your physical body's ability to do so without you going fucking crazy because of the excess of energy. Okay. So, with that being said, once again, for those of you who would like a Mercury and Leo transit talk, I do have on my website, of course, my transit talk available. All the readings, the recorded reports, I record and email to you when done. And then consultations I do over the phone. But this snapshot report is a recorded report. Every report or consultation is an automatic 50% discount. So you will automatically see that it takes 50% off of this. Okay. So I highly recommend. I have 15 spots available at $50 each. All right. The first 15 of you to actually, RIP Planet Watcher, the first of you to actually get this, I'm going to do that for. So please take advantage. The seats will go very quickly, especially with this automatic discount running till the 22nd. And yeah, other than that, for those of you who would like a live reading, let's get it in. Let's get it on. Monica, let's get it. Miss Super Libra Goddess. All right. This is really beautiful. Reflection, the snapshot reports are 15 minutes. And then my recorded reports are 15 and 30 minutes. The consultations are 30 minutes or an hour. All right. And once again, they're all half off. So, Monica, we know you are the beautiful, lovely Libra rising. All right. With the Aries moon. Chiron has been transiting your moon. Jupiter has recently evolved your moon. So, what's beautiful about this transit is that this is the entourage space. Venus, Mars, and now Mercury in your 11th are putting you in a position. Shelly Bombshell, please, you are more than welcome to. They're putting you in a position to very powerfully and realistically put you in a position to effectively open up the nature of how powerfully you gather this excitement to support you. The 11th house is twofold because you put in a lot of work through the 10th house to direct your career in the direction that feels right to you. And now that you've finished processing this, the North Node in your 7th house, this is very key. Now that you know what's right to move into, now the North Node in your 7th is going to direct who is right to move in that direction of success. And I think that's the coolest part about this transit. All the ascending Leo energy, especially by the time Venus retrograde conjuncts Mercury in your 11th, is going to trine the North Node in your 7th. So relative to April, it's going to bring a very exciting quality of everyone you're ready to move forward with. Relative to in the 7th, what partnerships form from this pool of friends. This is going to lead into the new moon in your 11th in Leo, which will start that new cycle. So Mercury and Venus are preparing and polishing the area beforehand. Okay, and I would definitely love that. It's definitely a great time to get this because once we get into Libra season and the transits now move in front, thank you. Definitely looking forward to that. Once the transits now move in front of your rising, remember, we're going to have the eclipse in your rising. South Node, this is you unlocking how balanced and perfect your personality is so you can put other people on. Because you already know, supernova activation, part of the 13. This is us as the ascended masters. Now, in your case, really perfecting which partnerships you move forward with based on your wisdom and balance that you've already invested. So this 11th house chapter is the rewards and career since last October, the rewards and benefits through the community that once we step into Virgo season will transcend relative to the success, change your behavior, boom, have you move forward to unlock the new direction of your personality. And that is very, 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 very important and very, 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 very beautiful. Okay. Sweet. I feel like also personally, because you have Jupiter in Gemini, this preparation for the Jupiter return is going to put you in a really powerful, you know, position to realistically expand on how you're enlightening people with the right information. So it's going to make it pop so much more because, unlike just passionately engaging with others, you're going to be the beacon of what to say, what and where, and how to direct people. And most importantly, because you also have this progressed Scorpio energy, the Leo transit is going to really challenge you and break you through considerably unexpected windfalls of income, as well as really making and moving forward with existing friendships and making key friendships that through you align everything. Like people are going to realize that you had what they needed for a while and it didn't really come into form until that moment. So Michelle, thank you very much. Knowing that your 29 degrees Cancer rising is very important because Mercury is going to be transiting the majority of your first house throughout the whole transit. And so relative to that, this is really important because even though Leo is your second house, you're manifesting the value of how you identify yourself, which I think is very exciting because This is beautifying and polishing the extravagant elegance of how boldly you hold yourself accountable to being this queen and fully showing up as yourself. What compounds this is that you have your sun in Virgo. So all of this Leo energy that's behind your Virgo sun is actively going to transcend your attitude around who you are and what you're worth. And what's that going to look like? You're going to really process every doubt that you've had over the past 2 years about how amazing and strong you are, and just question what outside influences influenced you to have these doubts, because the way you're going to be showing up with Venus starting to retrograde and redefine how beautifully you express yourself is going to make obsolete facets of what you thought and believed about yourself in light of evidence and market growth and improvement, especially because a lot of the Taurus energy, like Uranus, is exactly on your Saturn right now. And this is innovating the ability for you to come into a massive unconventional sense of windfalls of income by the time we step into your second house Virgo, because you're a boss. Your sun is in the second house, so you manifest with the perfection of your skills, your social abilities and skills to perfect, analyze, heal, awaken. People may not realize that about you, because I think you're very low key in the way that you express your skills in a very humble but still super effective way that can cause people to take advantage or misunderstand how effective what it is you're doing in your service is. So that's a major quality of this transit. But I feel like Uranus, that and I'm glad you said it's in your third house. I'm actually using the equal sign system. So if we actually go back and look at Placidus, you'll see that Virgo does show up in your third house, right? But what I'm doing with the equal signs is I'm blending them. So as we can see, your third house is still Virgo, right? 29 degrees mastered Virgo. But you have your third house Virgo sun in the second house. So this is how, in blending both systems, you second house manifest your third house skill sets and attitude. So it's still a third house Virgo sun, but it falls in the second house, like a New York cop that's in New Jersey. Okay, it's just a little bit of advanced delineation here. But the reason why that's very key is that relative to this whole notion of the Mercury transit that is, of course, transiting in Leo behind the sun, it's going to demystify elements of how you've evolved. And as we can see, the Jupiter in your 10th, Uranus in your 10th, and even the moon in the North Node, as the North Node is now in Aries on your legacy, this is going to align you with you're destined for success. North Node natally on the MC, you're destined for success. When the North Node transits your MC, you're literally meant to be successful. It's challenging you to rise to the occasion, and you already did the construction and work. Jupiter already expanded it. So this is the first go around this year and next year. This is the first time you have Jupiter in your 10th and Uranus in your 10th, and then the sun in Virgo. That's going to manifest the second house money. And in Leo season, since you have Leo in your second, this is going to be the initial liquidation of all the work you've been setting up since 2020. And this is where you're going to start to see the money coming in, or at least the value, the increased courage, the increased confidence, which is money in and of itself. So that, I feel like, is the most important part. The beginning of this square now, Jupiter and Venus in Scorpio, is just going to challenge and adjust how intensely you can feel about how much more boldly you're expressing yourself. Okay. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be our transit talk. Michelle, I just kind of want to add the North Node. Yes, 29 degrees Cancer rising. For you Cancer risings with MC and Aries, or you Leo risings with MC and Aries, the North Node going into Aries, you are going to be successful. I really don't know how else to say this. It's the way you define this success that's going to determine whether you're infamous or famous. Either way, you're going to be famous. Either way, you're going to be Amos. Like, it is what it is. And it's not about like socialite fame. This is about the actions that carve your individuality And this is going to put you in the right place, right time situations. So it's good to know that everything is set in place. Okay. Anyway, you guys stay blessed as always. It is always a supreme honor. Uh please Ralph, super chat is minimum 30. Okay. For those of you who may still want a live reading, I'll stay on just to wait. But like I was saying before, for those of you who would like a reading, those are 50% off, automatic discount. Monica, thank you. I have received your order. I want to once again encourage you to order that as soon as possible, because I have a feeling that these 15 spots will go very quickly, as well as the 11 spots left for the Venus and Leo. Don't be shy. You can show your boy some support, but it's not necessary if it's not calling out to you right now. And yeah, other than that, I hope you enjoy this Mercury in Leo transit. I hope it speaks to you and encourages you to very powerfully and realistically explore the courageous nature of how awesome you can express yourself. You basically just activated the raw nature of how dope you are. Now it's time to integrate how awesome that feels, how awesome it is to step into the full potential of what it is you can do. And this is you beginning to adjust that accordingly too. All right. You guys stay blessed as always. And until next time.